paradox is when you get something you don't expect. You don't expect joy in suffering. Put on your thinking cap a moment with me and let me give you some other examples of paradoxes. A warning, these are really deep. First, the more you hate a trait in someone else, the more likely you are avoiding it in yourself. Ouch, this is a tough paradox. Carl Jung, a famous Swiss psychiatrist, believed that characteristics in others that bother us are reflections of the parts of ourselves that we deny in some way. Freud, hopefully you've heard of Freud, referred to this as projection. Now, most of us who aren't psychologists, we simply call this sort of behavior being a jerk. As an example, the person who's insecure about money will criticize others for their money. And so the more you are a jerk about a trait in someone else, well, the more likely you are avoiding it in yourself. A second paradox is that people who can't trust can't be trusted. You see, people who are chronically insecure in their relationships are more likely to sabotage those relationships. For example, one way people protect themselves from getting hurt is by hurting others first. These paradoxes ring true, don't they? But they're also tough to hear, really tough to hear. Or how about this third paradox? The more you fail, the more likely you are to succeed. Insert your favorite inspirational famous person quote here. You've probably heard many of them, right? Like, Edison, Thomas Edison tried 10,000 prototypes before getting the light bulb just right. Michael Jordan got cut from his high school basketball team. Success ultimately comes from improvement, and guess what? Improvement comes from failure. There's just no shortcut around it. And this is yet another tough paradox that we encounter. And the next paradox is profound. The more afraid you are of death, the less you'll be able to enjoy life. Or as one of my favorite quotes puts it, life shrinks and expands in proportion to one's courage. Now, I could go on with examples of paradox, but let me just give you one more a second. This is a paradox that resonates with me personally. And it is that the more convinced someone is that they're right, the less they probably know. In my previous career as a scientist, before becoming a pastor, I found this to be so true. I studied one small process in one organ in the body, and there were hundreds, if not thousands, of articles written on my limited field. Now, no good scientist could be absolutely convinced they are right because they'd realize there's so much we didn't know. In contrast, poor scientists would overstate assertions based on limited data. Now, that's not only bad science, it's not helpful in life. And I found this statement to be even more true when it comes to our faith. There's a paradox in holding to the truth humbly. And there's also a direct correlation between how open a person is to differing perspectives and how much that person actually knows about any given subject. Or as the philosopher Bertrand Russell once said, the trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. Oh man. Now maybe you've already figured it out based on these examples, but let me take a moment and define a paradox. It's a seemingly absurd or self-contradictory statement or proposition that when investigated or explained may prove to be well-founded or true. That's from the Google English Dictionary online. I've had some fun with paradoxes, and now it's your turn. Let's pause a moment to reflect together on paradoxes. What is an example of a paradox that you found to be true? You'll see that there's examples that I used just now on the screen to help get you going. Let's take a moment and talk about that.